Hi everybody, welcome back. My name is JoJo if you are new stopping by here. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your support. On this channel, I share with you guys our family's journey through budgeting with the goal of attaining financial freedom. And for us, that is really looking at that net worth number. So increasing assets, decreasing liabilities. We started in February of 2020 with a six-figure debt. Yesterday, I just used extra money, which mostly came from our stimulus check, to pay down some more debt. So if you want to check out that video, I'll put a card up here. But we are now at about $38,000 of debt, you guys. So from February of 2020 to March of 2021, we went from $102,000 to $38,000 of debt, and it feels so good, so liberating. The purpose of today's video is to close out sinking funds, and we are new to budgeting. We started around February of last year when we first faced our ugly debt number, and I didn't really know much about budgeting. And I came to YouTube. I really only came to YouTube and just gleaned all of this amazing knowledge from everyone within this community. And I had learned about sinking funds. And sinking funds, you guys, if you are not familiar with them, they are little mini savings accounts that have a designated purpose. You have your emergency fund, like Dave Ramsey talks about, as having $1,000 just sitting there waiting for the rainy day, the disaster to happen. But then the sinking funds, we have our $1,000 emergency fund. But having these sinking funds, this makes me feel more secure with only having that small amount of emergency savings, because it really doesn't sound like it would cover a whole lot, right? But then you have like a home maintenance or a car sinking fund, and usually your house or your car is the thing that gets damaged or broken that can be catastrophic to your life. So for sure need to have those as a sinking fund. Everything else is just filler, whatever goes on in your life. Tags, if you own a car, that one's usually pretty important because those are pricey. If you celebrate Christmas, if you have holidays or want to go on vacation, those are other kind of fluff sinking funds to have. But these have totally transformed our budget and made us a lot more confident with throwing more money at debt and having these as like our little cushion and being able to still live our lives. So these are all of my sinking funds. I have a lot of them. And what I'm gonna do today is show you guys on my paycheck budget sheet how I track contributions and purchases from within my sinking funds. This is one of my paycheck budget sheets. We're paycheck by paycheck, zero-based, cashless budgeters who also use a velocity banking system. And we get paid bi-weekly, so we usually have 2 paychecks a month. So this was paycheck 2 for the month of February. It kind of spilled into March, so that's why I'm using it for March. But it has our income, our bills, our variable expenses, our debt, and then over here is this sinking funds. And then I just noted that this one is for March. Next is paycheck 1 for March. So the dates of transactions I'm going to be looking at, it's going to cover from February 26th until March 25th. And that was my best capture. That's 4 weeks worth. And then over here, and as I mentioned, I keep track of the purchases or contributions during my weekly check-in. So this was week 1 and week 2. And here on my transaction log is where I keep track of all money flowing in, all money flowing out of our accounts. So income is green, bills are pink, variable expenses are yellow, and sinking funds are blue. For the bills, income, and variable expenses, I have expected amounts for each of those. And in this remaining, whenever it's over or under budget, I note that here. But for sinking funds, there's not a budgeted amount for those. I do do budget, like I have an expected amount I want to spend on Easter and that sort of thing, but that factors in when you're deciding how much to contribute every month and the amount of time that you have to save for that particular category. So what I do on my transaction log is under the remaining is I write what it was spent on in the description, how much, but then what category did it come from, and then over here, what sinking fund category it came from, and then over here is that it is a sinking fund category as far as the transaction log is concerned. So those are noted during my weekly check-ins over here. Now what we'll do is using these two paycheck budget sheets is plug in how much was utilized, how much was contributed through each category on this table. Okay, so now we are ready to start writing down how much money we have spent or contributed within each category. And I have an Excel spreadsheet that I keep all of these numbers tracked in to add everything up for me, because I do keep track of the cents. I don't round, and that can be very cumbersome to type into a calculator. So I use Excel. I will see if I can insert a snippet of what that looks like on my computer. It's not fancy because I'm the only one looking at it, but I am a pen and paper girl, so I like to write things down as well. For home maintenance, we ended up using $236.12. Next, we did use from kids' clothes, and that was $287.59. Then for gifts and holidays, we had used $153.46. This was for Easter and a birthday. Then coming down to gaming, and I had actually miscalculated this. I had put $13.75 twice, so I needed to actually roll over, show you guys right here. I had written it because we did have a PlayStation subscription come out for $13.75, and then I had to dip into electronics, but this was a fraudulent purchase. I did get refunded, but I decided instead of putting that back into gaming and electronics, because those are building up really well, that I just threw that money at debt yesterday. But I'd written down gaming and the gaming as $13.75 twice, but I only had $13.75. So I just rolled that into electronics, and that totaled $59.99 instead of the $46.24. So total what we spent on electronics was, let's see, where is that? $126.22. Okay, next for my face, I had purchased some Tretinoin Cream from my dermatologist. That stuff is expensive, but you guys, I'm going to be 37 this year, and skincare is very important to me. I don't really wear makeup, but I do purchase a lot of skincare items and quality items that have been proven with evidence to actually be beneficial in aging and for your skin, that sort of thing. I follow Hot and Flashy, her channel. She has an amazing skincare regimen, lots of great information on there. If you are a lady or a gentleman who is, you know, wanting to do some preventative care, check her out. Then my husband, he had used, we dipped into for a whopping 42 cents to contribute so that he would be less over budget one of the weeks on his purchases. And then we did have some contributions. I was under budget quite a bit. I'm not really a spender. My husband is definitely more of the spender, which you guys probably noticed. But I was under by 52.12. And then I was also under budget yesterday when I closed out paycheck 1, but I decided to just contribute that money to our variable expenses so we weren't so far over budget as a whole. And this has been building up quite a bit. I have quite a bit of money in here. My husband, he was able to add 10 cents. And total what we had added was $2,052.22. So normally all of these total $2,000, and then it's the dad bod and my face that can contribute extra. So you can see 52.12 plus 10 cents is 52.22. So that's where it comes to $2,052.22. What we had used total was $931.56. I'm going to go ahead and just fill out the ending amounts off camera and then come back and write down the total ending with you guys and then show you how that money looks with me tracking it using our velocity banking system. So everything has been added, subtracted, and the remaining balance all written right here. All of these total, so our ending balance right now is $6,383.53. Now what I'm going to show you guys is how I track this in my velocity banking accounts tracker. So let me get my planner here. I'm going to go to, let's see, sinking funds, banking. Okay. So all right, this is my velocity accounts tracker. Like I said, we use a velocity banking system. And so we use a two-way line of credit to pay down one-way amortized interest loan with the goal of saving money on interest. And we used our HELOC to pay off our last student loan refinance. And I uploaded my velocity banking monthly check-in video this week if you want to check that out to see more about that. I also have a playlist if you want to check it out. But if you want to see kind of how I plug these numbers in for tracking the money flowing, because I do get questions when I do my weekly check-ins about how money is tracked for our sinking funds, and it's not pulled in the moment or deposited or anything like that because we do use the velocity banking system. So our sinking funds, along with these other accounts, are housed within our HELOC to hold that principal balance down so the bank has less money to charge us interest on. After I close out my sinking funds, what I do is I come to my velocity banking transaction log and write down the date. So today I'm filming on the 24th. And I just write where money would technically be flowing if I was actively transferring it. But it's not actually being moved anywhere. It's just me tracking the flow of money. So for contributions, if you think about when you contribute to your sinking funds, it would be pulled from our standard checking. So subtracted, and I write down the 2052.22. And then it would be deposited into our sinking fund account. So what we used to do is have our sinking fund as a separate checking account. So we had two checking accounts through our bank. Some people have cash envelopes. You can also put these in a high yield savings account. I would probably, if I wasn't doing velocity banking, have it in a high yield savings account so I could squeeze as much money out of this, because that's a hefty amount. You could earn a decent amount of interest on it. Right now it's saving us money on interest. But that money now that we pulled, that was deposited, it was pulled from checking, deposited into sinking funds. Then what we had utilized came from sinking funds So subtracted, it was $931.56. And had we been pulling that money and actually physically moving it, it would have gone into checking. It would have been added into checking. And then I'll come through, because you guys know how I love to color code my check boxes. Savings is pink, checking is purple, sinking funds is blue, and then a principal payment to that actual loan is green. But that is just how I track that flow of money for sinking funds. It's not physically moving anywhere. It's just me tracking where the money would theoretically be flowing in those accounts. Okay, so that is going to wrap up the sinking funds, what we are ending with. I did go ahead and plug in the gaming. I do want to touch base on kids' clothes. I have 3 kids. I budget $1,000 per kid per year for clothes, and this covers extracurricular like cleats, basketball shoes, gear, pads, and then we're getting into snowboarding. So it's the end of the season. I'm going to go look at some of these sporting goods stores and see if they have sales on helmets, goggles, snow pants. My oldest is set. He's kind of stopped going through growth spurts for now, but I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and you guys, those kids grow like weeds. So you got to try to get the deals when you can. And winter gear is expensive, so is sports gear. So that's why this is so much. And it also covers back to school clothes. This back to school down here covers more so school fees, lunch boxes, backpacks, that sort of thing. I think that was all I wanted to touch base with on some of these categories. And that is it. That is going to wrap up this sinking fund check-in. Thank you all so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're liking the contents of this channel, don't forget to subscribe. And I will see you guys next week with my weekly check-in. Have a great week, everybody.